All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. My name is John, and today I wanted to talk about everything you need to know about grinding efficiently and how to improve your hour of wherever you're grinding. So this is admittedly more for beginners and people who are just looking to get some extra tips on how to improve, and veterans can probably give some of their advice as well. But I made a little bit of a checklist of things I wanted to talk about in terms of how to improve. And what brought this up was some of my friends recently started playing Black Desert, and they just asked me for advice on various things. And so when I asked, like, okay, so can I watch you grind for like 10 minutes, see what you're doing, how you can improve? And one thing I noticed was they aren't really using buffs as much. And I wanted to make sure that people actually understand that it is actually important to be buffing up. So that's why whenever you see like a grind video of mine or like any other streamer, YouTuber, basically their bar at the bottom is full of everything. And I wanted to show you what all those look like and how you can go about getting it yourself. So first of all, I'm going to make things simple and make sure this is for both beginners and people who are just looking to get better. So first of all, what you're going to be looking for is food buff. This is the one you should have at very minimum before we go into all the other different buffs we have here. So food buffs, you're going to be looking at the 3 different cron meals. You can get it off the central market. You just type cron and you type one of these. So there is a min-max thing where you could use like the yellow food buff, but that one's on like a 30-minute timer, like cooldown before you can use a new one. So you basically have to prepare 1 hour in advance. It's not worth doing, and for the minimal return. So basically, you want to start with the food buff. So the seafood cron meal is for life skillers. Simple cron meal is more on the PvE side, and exquisite is used more for the accuracy. So both of these can be used in PvE, but I think for your average person, a simple cron meal would be better for PvE, and I see more people using exquisites in PvP. I'm not saying that these are exclusive. You can use either one, but I guess it depends on where you're grinding and all that stuff. And we'll talk about like different grind spots in probably another video, or I'll leave it in the description to what I've talked about before. But in a nutshell, simple cron meal, PvE, exquisite, more for PvP, but it's not these, like, you don't have to do it like that. So either one. But the reason why, simple, it gives 30 extra AP against monsters, and of course like skill XP, monster AP, and all the other extra stats, which are nice, the special attack damage and everything. Whereas exquisite gives more flat or stats, and it gives more accuracy, and then like just all the other bonuses as well. So depends on what you're doing. Next, we have elixirs and party elixirs. So one thing I do, I guess for beginners, here's what I would recommend. You would go the frenzy draft, and you just type this, for example. So the green one is for life skillers. The beast draft is, I guess, more of a beginner grinding one, because it gives you extra AP against monsters, the combat XP, and the important one is recover HP per hit. And it may not sound like a lot. It's like, oh, 1 HP per hit. But when you're chaining like 15 skills a second, and each skill does like 6 different attacks, what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what skill you're using or what class. You see how it's like attack damage 1350 times 8, and then it's like, yeah, 8 of these, and then you're using like 15 skills, and then yeah, that's actually, it does add up. So believe it or not, it's actually better than it sounds like. The giant's draft is more for like full damage, but you're not getting as much in terms of monster, so I see it used more in PvP, but it's also good, but you just don't get the extra AP against monsters. So kind of situational. I think beast is slightly better for PvE. Giants are more for PvP, but like ultimately situational. And for most people, whether you're at endgame or not, I would recommend getting the frenzy draft. because not only does it give more AP against monsters, it also gives more HP per hit. The downside is you lose 15 DP, which, like, I guess if you're trying a very higher spot, like more than you have gear, you're probably thinking, okay, that's kind of weird, so it might be scary. Trust me, it's not that bad. When you recover more than you take damage, then you're doing fine. Admittedly, the price tag on this one is like 5 mil pop, and you basically use 4 an hour, so essentially 20 mil. But trust me when I say it's worth it. When you use the frenzies, what you would do is you combine this with the, like, what are those orange bottle things? What is it? Corrupted breath. And it gives you 5 extra more AP against monsters. So this is 30 and there's 35. And you can grind all this out yourself as well. And this is what I use for places where I don't need full party elixirs. And then, so next, we're going to talk about full party elixirs. So these are the ones I use. And the way you think you would decide if you want to use these or not is generally if you are grinding the higher end areas or if you are grinding in a party, obviously. So I will admit it is more expensive to use like full party elixirs, but you do it for end game stuff. So if you're like a beginner or an intermediate level player and you're just getting by, trust me when I say a frenzy will do fine. I have grinded every single grind spot in this game. Well, I guess like 99% of them. But yeah, this will do fine for most people. The party elixirs are good for like areas where you need the extra survivability, you need the extra burst and everything. So I'll just do a quick rundown of what party elixirs I use. And okay, so basically, just very quickly, green elixirs turn into blue elixirs. The green ones are like the weaker version, but you craft more of them, and then you turn the greens into blues, and then they're the stronger ones. So the ones that I use for... This is more for PvE, but you can obviously use them both because they kind of go together. So lethal destruction, special attack damage, crit hit, strong shock. Griffin is PvE for Commosylvians. Air attack damage. If you know what skills you have that do air attack damage, it's good. Down attack, also very good. Damage reduction, very good. Recover more HP per hit. And so, you know how we talked about that frenzy of like getting like HP on hit? It's also really good. And so next we have, what is it? Okay, so Grim, recover 3, strong life, more HP pool, survivability, remarkable will, damage received from monsters as minus 10%, less damage taken. Endless frenzy, more of a glass cannon one. You get more damage, but you lose DP. You know the whole meme of just don't get hit? That's literally using this elixir. Recover 5 HP per critical hit on strong draining. This does stack with Grim or the Reaper one. So you're getting a lot of hit when you do damage, especially if you're critting. So it's like you kind of have to go out of your way to die with these on. Demi-humans, situational grind spot. Defense nullifying damage, brutal perforation. So like you defense break or penetrate the enemy when you do more back attack damage. So it's an offensive elixir. Same with this one with critical hits. So yeah, just be careful. Just look at what you're doing. So like this one's back attack, critical, and then attack speed. I don't think most people will actually need this. If you have like standard food buff and everything, you probably won't need it. But if you do, you just add it to your set. Back attack damage is probably the most important special attack damage you have. Simply because not every enemy can get floated or air attacked or down attacked, but every enemy can get back attacked, and this goes for players as well. So yeah, this one I would say is probably the most important compared to like, I don't know, air attack and down attack. You can use all three of them, but I just think that for everything, back attack is the most important. Critical hit damage, this one is very expensive. Admittedly, you can actually buy this now. Like 6 months ago, they made a change where they made the mushrooms what are they called? I don't remember what they're called, but basically you can just buy these sharp detections now. They're still expensive, but you can buy them, so that's good. And then accuracy, more of a PvP one, but I guess it's gear dependent on do you have enough accuracy for everything. So yeah, those are the elixirs I use. You can use them for both PvP and PvE, but obviously some are different than others. You won't use a PvE elixir in PvE. So anyway, with that said, that's what I use. It's more for endgame. For the rest of you guys, a frenzy draft and a few other things that we'll talk about. Good to go. Next thing I want to talk about is perfumes. So we have, I personally switch between Perfume of Courage and Bracing Spirit Perfume. And I'll admit the Perfume of Spirit or Courage is 30 mil each. It doesn't feel good spending 3 billion on 100 of these every now and then. Like, should you do it? Absolutely, it's huge. Does it feel good? No, it doesn't. So for everyone who's like on a budget for everything, Bracing Spirit Perfume elixirs are also very good because it's not 20 AP, but you get 5 and you get some more survivability with the 300 and a maxed out crit rate. So, I mean, it's still good. Depends on where you grind. If it's at very high end, I would go for the damage push. But for like, let's say something where you're over clearing, bracing is more than enough. So yeah, if you look at the perfumes on the market, these are the entry level ones. You turn the spirit perfumes into bracing. What it does is give an extra 5 AP against monsters, and that's about it. It's worth using these. Perfume of Courage are the expensive ones. I struggle to recommend this one to most people unless you really know your gear stats really well and where you're grinding, but it's really easy. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. And then, yeah, that's about it. I guess the rest of these are more on the PvP side, and the mortal ones means, like, if you die, you don't lose your elixir during the time. It's also more expensive, but for the rest of us, it is what it is. You just use this. I think I would recommend the bracings for most people. Perfume of Courage, you can only use one, by the way, or one at a time. So for most people, bracing is good. People who grind super sweaty, Perfume of Courage is the way to go. And swiftness is life skill. Next thing I want to talk about is Villa Scrolls. Now, this one is a little bit different because I understand not everyone has a tent, and it might be out of your way, but everyone can get this buff. So, if you are a free-to-play player, here's how you go about doing these. You see these little icons on here, these villas. Basically, you can trade up... well, you can trade in silver for this thing called a Villa Pass. And you talk to the NPC, and once you get a Villa Pass, you can buy, like, Villa buffs. And for everyone that does have a tent, which is why people say tents are basically mandatory, and I think it's very nice to have. Would I pay full price for it on the Pearl Shop? No. It often goes on sale, and sometimes they even give us, like, those discount coupons, so you can actually stack, like, 50 to 60% off the main price. That's when I would buy it. But anyway, here's how the tent works. You can actually get a tent for free. When I say free, I mean no real money. You just basically pay silver in-game for the materials. I'll leave a link in the description to a video that I made on how to get the free version. And I personally have the permanent one just because I play this game more than the average person. But here's how Villa Scrolls work. You have 3 different options. You have life, skill and experience, and then basically the body enhancement. For most people, the body enhancement one is going to be the one you want because it gives more AP and DP, which is more damage, survivability, and HP, and all this stuff. But let's say you are over geared in an area. Should you still use it? If you're trying to level, the skill and combat XP is great. And if you are like AFKing on a training dummy, I would just use this one because the other 2 are literally irrelevant. But yeah, for most people, you're going to be using the body enhancement. These are just different. You pay more silver based on how long you want the buff for. I would say most people grind for 1 to like hour long periods. So 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, and then 5. So just buy whatever one you buy or how long you grind for. So yeah, that's how tent buffs work. The next thing I want to talk about is church buffs. Now, in every town, you can go to an NPC that would give church buffs. How do you find it? At the top of your screen right here, the little magnifying glass, you find an NPC, and then this NPC right here, silver or parentheses church buffs, and it'll lead you to the closest one in whatever town you're at. And how do you know? The NPC will sell, like, you talk to them, and will offer you 3 different buffs. So like the attack, protection, like offensive, defensive, and XP. So if you're trying to level. So at very minimum, you want the attack one. You can get all 3 of them. These are the same things, just 2 hours versus 5 hours. So I guess it depends on how much you grind. And so, yeah. I do believe these are like 15%. You know what? I'll just buy them just to show you exactly what they look like. All right, so here's the offensive buff. 8 AP, 8 accuracy. Very cool. Defense, 150 HP, 8 DR. And the XP is 15% combat and skill XP. Nice. Next thing we want to talk about, and what other buffs you would get, is furniture add-on, or like furniture. So what you would do is go to furniture, decoration, and then admittedly a lot of these are sold out, so if you do hunting, the life skill, then you could just make these yourself. So the ones I would recommend for most people are the ones that give offensive buffs. So like, for example, these two, all AP plus 15 and ignore all resistances for 2 hours. That's pretty huge. So anything that's like offensive or survivability are the ones I would recommend. And also, they sometimes give away these for events in the game. So, you know, like this one is going on right now that you guys can get. So it's like combat, skill, and life XP. And so, and these last for 24 hours. Sometimes they do like other events that give them. So basically, here's how it works. You put it into your house, and it'll allow you to use a different buff, like all of these things, for example. So this one, it'll show you all the buffs you use. You just hit it, and it'll give you that. This one is used out. It tells you how much durability and like all of this one, it gave drop rate and everything. So yeah, make sure to either craft one yourself by hunting or buy it off the market. Some of them are a little harder to get than others, admittedly. But if you've been playing this game for a while, you just kind of have a lot of random cake buffs going on. And yeah, it is worth using it. So even if it's just like 100 extra HP, it's better than not having it, especially at higher end areas. And one other thing, this is exclusive to Heidel, I believe. If there's another spot, I don't go to it. So if there's like more of these, I would recommend actually getting it. So here is a buff, Carolin. If you do any Node Wars or PvP and you're in Heidel and you see like 100 people standing here, here's why. Because she gives this buff right here. You pay 25 energy. You can get this infinitely, by the way. And for 30 minutes, you get critical hit damage plus 10%. So 10%, believe it or not, is a lot. And so for 30 minutes, whatever you're doing, that's pretty huge. That's another buff you can have. And the last things I want to talk about, especially for new players, because this is not something they like guide you to do. It's just kind of like, here it is, figure it out yourself. So make sure to actually adjust your skill add-ons. It doesn't matter what class you play, you always want add-ons. So these are what I use for Dark Knight, and here's some tips that I can give all of you guys for how to pick the proper add-ons if you are like, it doesn't matter what class. I'm going to just give you general advice. So things you want to look out for are extra AP against monsters plus 30%. That's huge. That's like having 30 extra HP or AP. You want to debuff the enemies for minus 20 DP, so it's like minus 20 AP for the, or DP for the enemy. So they have less armor, you get more damage, you clear faster. Very good. Attack and cast speed makes you cast or attack faster. Self-explanatory. And then the buffs that give like crit damage and all that other stuff, like back attack, crit, and all that stuff. So yeah, more damage multipliers going on your skills, and that's always good. So how do you pick the right skills? Well, obviously that goes case by case, but here's how I pick things. So right here, you see this skill called Spirit Legacy. It has a 9-second cooldown. The skills add-ons that I put on here, when you use the skill, it adds these add-ons for 10 seconds. So essentially, you can have a 100% uptime if you're good at your class and know how to do rotations properly. And then other things like this. So Script of Grudge for me, I get a 30% crit rate buff and crit damage rate for 12 and 7 seconds. How often can I use this skill? Every 6 seconds. So ideally, you want to pick skills that you use a lot, and you want to make sure you can have as close to 100% uptime on all your add-ons. Obviously, for PvP, it's a little bit different. It doesn't exactly flow the same way, but yeah, that's the kind of things I look at. Dark Nebula, 7-second cooldown. Pick 2 skills that have a 7-second cooldown, 100% uptime in theory. So yeah, just make sure to look at your add-ons. What do you think is good for you? Do you play Succession? Do you play Awakening? Those are things you kind of have to factor in yourself. And the last thing I want to talk about, aside from, like, obviously most people's goal is to get the best in slot gear in this game, this is not something you can obviously fix just overnight. You can't just go like, oh, 600 to 700 gear score and so on. But the things that I want to say are something that I would recommend to every class is your artifacts and lightstones. So I have a video that goes over every single crystal layout that I have, and I'll leave a link in the description to that, so I won't talk about it here. Just go watch the video if it interests you. And I talk about why I have every single thing for both PvE and PvP. And the next thing I have is artifacts. I also do have a separate video of that one as well, but I'm just going to make this one a brief one, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch why I have all the add-ons I do. Or, like, no, not add-ons, artifacts and lightstone combos, how to get them and everything. So, yeah, so if you're just grinding for XP, here's what I would use. Straight up extra AP against monsters, do more damage, get more combat XP. If you are more of a defensive player, this is more admittedly a experiment for me. I use Untouchable, which is DR, evasion, HP, and special attack evasion. Do I notice a difference with it? A little bit, but admittedly I play Dark Knight, so I'm kind of glass cannon no matter what. If you grind in certain areas, there is a thing called the Wild, and it has a species damage. So, for example, if I'm grinding in Kama Sylvia, I would get a bonus of plus 30 in Kama Sylvian damage. So, like, the artifacts plus the Lightstones plus the bonus give everything. And then for endgame, I use all-out attack for, I would say, a lot of other things if it doesn't have a species. How do you know? How do you check all your stats and everything? You look at your sheet over here, so you click this My Stats button. This will pop up. What do you look at? You see a lot of numbers. What does this mean? You look at, what are you, Awakening or Succession? You look at this number right here. You take, like, 693. You take the extra AP against monsters you have. So 693 plus 224. And then extra damage to insert species type. And then you combine all of those, and it gives you the number for the grind spot you have. And what does that mean? So let's say you're looking at Dekia Akhman, and you're like, okay, so here's what the AP and DP recommendations. So when you see 300 and 400, what does that mean? It means you have more than 300 or 400 DP on your sheet, which over here. And so when you view total stats, it says 920 and 440, like 1,000 restricted. So that 1,000 means, like, the number you combined right here from, like, the 693 plus 224 plus, like, the species and everything, that's the overall AP. That's how you read that, essentially. So I hope that made sense. Yeah, and then when you have full buffs and everything, it gets calculated into your total. For me, I don't have full buffs. I just got these for, like, demonstration purposes to show you. So I hope that all made sense. How to improve your grind a little bit better, how to grind more efficiently. So this is where this comes in handy. You know your fairy and you have continuous care. If you have continuous care, you can basically set presets, and then you have this toggled on, and then your fairy will use all your elixirs if you have them. And if you just want to use the basic ones like I do, and you just want the simple food, you want one frenzy, and then let's say you want like one perfume, and that's all you want, you can have that too. And if you're an endgame player, you probably have maxed elixirs stacked and everything, different presets. I wish they would have more than 3 presets, to be honest. But yeah, that's how you do it. And it's just kind of like a annoying thing to remember to have to do. I wish there was an all-in-one preset, because you have to remember how, like, you have to turn on your alchemy stone, you have to make sure all your buffs are going, you have to like check your food buffs and everything. So yeah, it's annoying, but admittedly, adding buffs and using them, very efficient. You want to make sure you actually do them. And I guess one last thing before we end this video is, a lot of people ask me, is the loot drop rate thingy actually worth it? The tent buff, so this thing right here, when you go into the shop and you see the item drop rate plus 10% to 50%, yes, it's worth it. Yes, I understand it's 50 mil an hour, and people are like, oh, that's a lot, but trust me when I say it's worth it. I grind with that basically every time I grind, and like it just has a higher chance of drop rate. So on average, you will make more than you spend on your elixirs and everything. And if you're losing money while doing something, you're grinding wrong. It is what it is. So no matter where you grind, chances are you're probably making more than you're spending. Yes, it is worth it. And hopefully that helped you. So with that said, I just want to say thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you. And if you're new to the channel, drop a quick like on the video, hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you guys come back. And I make videos for people who are looking to improve on this game, new players, returning players, and all that stuff. So I've been playing this game for 8 years now, I guess, or this is the 8-year anniversary, I think. So yeah, I didn't have guides to help me when I first started. I kind of had to figure this out all by myself. And so hopefully I'm just sharing all the knowledge I have that I've learned throughout this game with you guys. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Peace.